Greetings, everybody, listening to the We Are Gamers podcast. This is Lawrence of the We Are Gamers podcast, bringing you the next installment of our podcast, as Justin is taking care of some personal things at the moment. But joining me, I have Rydent.
Hey, guys.
And as always, the lovely Team Benevolence, Michelle.
Hi.
And speaking of these two, both of these fine, one lady and one gentleman, went to the MCM Expo a few weeks back.
Yay.
So now would be a proper time, since we didn't do an episode last week, now would be the proper time for you to squeal, fanboy, fangirl over what happened there. So, details, go.
Ooh, lots. I was working there in part with Take My Code, but Friday and Saturday I did have free, and Friday, while it was a bit of a walkabout and there wasn't really a lot going on, I did catch up with Tara and Yuri for their film that they showed, which was Con Artists, which was pretty cool. It was a little mockumentary film, and it kind of goes through a year in the life of a voice artist in going to expo shows, etc. It was pretty funny. They'd done it in a documentary style, but staged some scenes to add a little extra humor, and they've really taken the piss out of themselves a lot of the time, as opposed to people around them and voice actors in general. So it was really, really cool to watch, and it did kind of give you an insight as well.
Oh yeah.
I did meet the pair of them. Got a few signatures, some bits and pieces. Also met Richard Epcar, which was the best thing ever. And Ellen Stern. Ellen Stern was she's such a lovely person to chat to. You saw them as well, didn't you, Michelle?
Yeah, it's like I saw Tara and Yuri on the Saturday, and I saw all the other voice actors on the Sunday, so it was really good.
Yeah, because everyone was kind of ignoring Ellen because they don't really know who she voices, which, I wasn't too sure as to some of the people she voices, because she does a lot of, as I found out, she does a lot of Shakespeare acting, so she does a lot of theatre and other stuff as well as voice, and she usually plays more secondary or small roles.
Yeah, like she's like Ichigo's mom in Bleach and side roles and like that.
Mm. Well, actually, she said it in the in that voice panel, didn't she? She says, "I just do a lot of mums."
Yeah.
She did one of the voices in Ghost in the Shell 2: Innocence, which was my favorite Ghost in the Shell film, and I wouldn't have even known. I'm trying to remember her name. Is it Haraday or? So it's the woman who is trying to explain about the technology and has the she's the one that's in the lab room with the robotic girl, and they're trying to extract the memory from the cyborg. She's the woman
Haraway.
That's in there. Yeah, that's it. The one that's smoking and gives Bato a little bit of insight. But yeah, she was lovely to chat to, and I gave Richard a chibi Dong Shuo figure.
I'm fairly certain he must have appreciated that one.
He did. He did. He said he loved it.
Nice.
And I did tell him off for. I jokingly told him off for his telling of his voice, doing the voices for Dynasty Warriors 8 when when they weren't supposed to.
Yeah, I still remember that, because we were kind of like held to secrecy back when we did the thing, and then we're seeing the voice actors and we're like, really?
Yeah.
So it seems like you had a blast on that whole on your whole MCM Expo experience. You got to meet some awesome people from the sounds of it too.
Yeah.
Michelle, how was yours?
It was really good, apart from, it was insane because it's like we were trying to get to meet Troy Baker and Roger Craig Smith,
That was
and
the most ridiculous queue.
yeah, it's like they were actually doing two different signings. Like the first one was obviously for Warner Brothers with Arkham Origins, like got released that Friday. Um, Needless to say, the wristbands for that event sold out in about it was about 50 minutes, the guy said. And it's like you could see the queue sort of for the signing going pretty much the whole length across the expo hall, basically.
Yeah.
It was insane. But then it's like we managed to go to the other signing, which was the free one, so that wasn't a problem because it was the MYM magazine stand. So we had to queue for an hour during, like, Richard and Ellen were already there doing the signing. We had to queue for the whole sort of period of them signing just to stand a chance of getting to see Troy and Roger, but oh, it was so worth it.
Well, that queue worked its way almost to the other end of the expo as well.
Yeah, because I think it's like at first they were sort of limiting it to only 50 people, but then once the signing started, it pretty much was just, as sort of many as you can get into the time frame.
Yeah. I remember seeing all the disappointed faces. They had to cut the queue. They had to say, right, anyone after this point can't, won't be getting a signature. It's like,
Yeah, there had to be some level of order. It sounds
yeah.
like, because that sounds like it was just utter chaos for a bit.
Well, it was orderly chaos, but it was just the queue was just so big that you have to cut it off, and it's always disappointing if you're that person that's right on the end of that cutoff point.
Right.
It's just, that's insane because I've never seen it so bad for a voice actor before.
No.
Well,
I mean, because it was Troy and it was Roger Craig Smith, wasn't it?
Yep.
So the pair of them have pretty good selection of voices, like popular voices, which they've done in recent times.
yeah. Like Roger Craig Smith, obviously he has Chris Redfield under his name. He has Ezio. He has Shinji from Bleach, and he has Sonic the Hedgehog.
And then he's Batman.
And now he's Batman. And Troy Baker is just becoming,
where to begin?
yeah, he's just becoming the new. I guess you could say new household name when it comes to voice acting in that regard.
Yeah.
With however many roles in his vocal. Wow, I can't talk today. His vocal range.
I always call him the current Nolan North of video games.
Yeah, I've heard
because it was like during Uncharted time, when up until Uncharted 3 and then Spec Ops: The Line and stuff, it was Nolan North just doing absolutely everything. His voice was just everywhere, and now he's kind of phased out, and now it's just Troy Baker's voice is just everywhere.
Yeah, I've heard that comparison thrown toward Troy Baker quite a bit recently. That he's the current Nolan North of video games. And voice acting in general now. Especially in video games, you hear him a lot more, too, because there's more, I guess, freedom to taking video game roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Troy Baker's Joker is phenomenal in Arkham Origins.
I haven't played Arkham Origins yet.
I've got Origins, but I haven't gotten as far as the Joker yet, so...
Okay. My brother was playing it the other day, and I was watching him do some of the sequences where the Joker pops up, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
But yeah, his Joker performance is great. I mean, if you didn't know it was Troy Baker, you might have thought it was Mark Hamill. He sounds that close to the Joker.
Yeah. But do you remember in the voice panel, Michelle, Richard Epcar put his part in when someone was asking about what it's like to take it to be in the shoes of such high profile voices for the two characters, it's Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, and then Richard Epcar's view was Richard said he's never heard Mark Hamill's Joker. And he doesn't want to. He said because it kind of puts in.
Yeah, it would sort of color his performance of it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes. So it makes you almost, instead of putting your own, your own spin on, seeing the character, seeing his words, and voicing it how you would perceive the jokes to sound, you're actually doing it almost mimicking a former voice.
Right.
Well, he also said that he was under more freedom because obviously
Yes.
when he was doing the Joker, he didn't have to worry about sort of doing a younger Mark Hamill sound for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Troy Baker you're talking about in the panel, right?
No, Richard Epcar.
Oh, Epcot. Okay.
Richard Epcar, because he does the voice for Joker in Injustice,
Justice. Yeah.
and doesn't he also do? Was it him or was it Mark that did the voice in DCU Online?
I do believe that DC Universe was Mark Hamill because
Trying to think.
because Mark Hamill was Arkham, and then I remember he was doing DC Universe, and then he said the Arkham City and DC Universe stuff would be his last performances.
Another fantastic Joker, I think, is John DiMaggio, who did it in Under the Red Hood.
Yes. Yeah,
And he doesn't sound like Hamill, and his Joker's very good.
yeah, very, very good. Very demented sounding. I like his take on the Joker.
Yes. Yeah.
In general, at the MCM Expo, did you any of you do attend any special events, screenings, like the one you mentioned with Yuri and Tara? Were there any other screenings or events that you guys were able to attend?
I went to the Namco Bandai panel. That was probably
Same.
about it.
It was because there was the Namco Bandai panel, which I caught the end of, which was I just jumped in when the Tales of section was coming in, which was really good. Obviously, lots of stuff for Michelle to oogle over.
Yeah.
All the shiny new toys and gadgets.
Yeah, well, he had the collector's editions with him, didn't he? And he was showing off all the little bits and pieces from it.
Yeah, it's like because obviously North America and Europe are getting the same collector's edition of Tales of Symphonia Chronicles, the exact same version,
Yeah.
only it's got the soundtrack with it. That's the only new thing. So I'm like, do I want to buy it again for the soundtrack or?
You will, won't you?
Yeah, let's face it, I will.
Without fail. Without fail. This is pretty much predetermined that this will happen. Any other panels that you were able to attend?
Well, there was the voice panel just after the Namco one. But that got cut short because the Namco panel overran.
Mm-hmm.
I blame JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, they showed that off at the expo.
Yeah, they had two of the guys there that were working on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it was a funny it was a funny panel, but it did cut into the next one, which just finished quite abruptly, didn't it?
Yeah, they were just
Yeah,
sort
no
of like,
more
we have
questions.
time for like one question, and that's kind of it.
And the
One
guys
more
were like,
question.
oh, really?
It's like the shortest panel ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, got time for one question to make it good.
Well, I mean, they had more than one question, but
Not by
But-
much, though.
no, it wasn't. And they must have only had about maybe 8 questions, which is very short,
Mm-hmm.
possibly pushing on 10. And someone asked Troy to redo the New York Comic Con thing, but Troy politely said, that was a special moment at New York to do the monologue that he did.
Right, from the
If you've
clone
heard
show.
that. Yeah, and so he said he wasn't going to redo that because that was kind of his personal a moment at that one time. So
Yeah.
it's not something that you really want to replicate and just have going around. So may not be as good, or it may be better, and then put down the original the feeling of the original
Right.
original
Or
doing of it,
or just
so,
the emotion wouldn't be the same.
yeah. So so he he turned down doing that.
Yeah.
Then there was a fangirl who asked Troy and Yuri for some clothes.
What?
Yeah, one of the questions. Go with Michelle.
It's like this fangirl basically asked Troy and Yuri for a piece of clothing each, and I think Troy gave her the tag from his jacket because it was like a new jacket, and he just like,
After a lot of
yeah,
searching.
yeah. And Yuri said he didn't even have anything, not like even lint to give her.
Because they've literally both bought new clothes just for the like I think they went out into must have gone out into London or whatever to go do a bit of shopping because they literally just got new clothes and they just didn't have anything that they could just tear off.
Wow.
That was a bizarre thing. And then when you see her running up to go and collect it, it's like she was just so excited just to get a tag.
Is it just me, or are voice actors becoming more and more like the celebrities of other media
I think they are,
with
you know,
fans of that
and
nature?
especially when now, you know, they are no longer just voices; they're getting faces. You know,
Right.
people know them,
Yeah.
good or bad. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing yet.
Well, Troy Baker said in an interview, I believe it was for Kotaku, he said something along the lines of that he would rather be notorious. Something along the line of he'd rather be more notorious than famous for his roles.
Hmm.
And he said that he doesn't like fame. And he said he wished people didn't know he was voicing the Joker in Arkham Origins. Because he
Yeah,
said notoriety is just people know you by your work and your resume.
yeah,
Fame is when people know you by who you are and think they know you
yeah.
in that way.
The people that would just, you know, will stop you in the street and stuff
Right.
because they know your face. Yeah,
And
hang outside your hotel room and all that kind of creepy stuff.
yeah, pretty much like what you just said right now. Hey, can you give me a piece of your clothing? What?
Yeah, yeah.
So
That was pretty much their reaction, I think.
so I think that Troy Baker's assessment of it. I actually you can understand where that comes from when you see stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it gets too over the top with the fans and fandoms and things of that nature.
I think now because you know because people are getting more familiar with these voices and faces, the publishers are then pushing that. So when they get these voice actors, they're then saying, yes, we've got such and such, and then they'll have all the, you know, these fan events and whatever with these voice actors. So therefore, they are getting shown a lot more.
Right. Which has its upsides and downsides. You take the good with the bad, it seems like.
Yeah,
Because along with all the bad sides, the good side is they now know, they now know you are
recognize your
desirable.
work. Yeah,
Right, you're
a lot more. Yeah.
recognizable. Right, so,
I mean, before I, you know, used to hear these voices, and I wouldn't know or even care who was actually voicing them. I just cared about the, you know, the character that I saw on the screen,
yeah, I get what you mean. For
and it's, you know, it's a different thing now.
Yeah, I think for me, the first time I started recognizing, like really recognizing and pinpointing, voice actors was Steve Bloom. And then, of course, Kyle Hebert. Eventually, I started, picking apart. Like, hey, wait a minute. He sounds like Gohan sounds like the narrator, but with a higher voice. And then there's PyCon, and then it's like, wait a second, it's the same guy. And then, of course, Chris Sabat did like 10,000 voices in DBZ at one point. So eventually you start picking things up, and then it was only
Yeah.
like right after that I started looking for the names. And then, of course, at the time, Crispin Freeman was doing a whole bunch of other voices of his own. Like, at the time, he was mainly doing Alucard's voice in Hellsing around, like, 2003-ish. And that was around when I first started paying attention to the actual actors
Yeah.
and following, hey, this voice actor does this role. And then started linking them back and forth. But, back then, it wasn't a general thing. Back then, it was just you fell for the character.
Yeah.
Now, more and more people are falling for the character and the voice behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even seen more and more in reviews that voice acting is becoming more of a review criteria.
I think because the quality is also, being up to, especially with regards to the direction. It's maybe not the voice the caliber of the actors or anything like that. Although they are putting in better work, but I think they're getting better direction as well and better interaction and better better interaction with their lines, so then they can actually speak them out better, as opposed to having what almost feels like scripted one-line sentences in a game script, etc.
Right.
I mean, in animation it's a little easier because they used to, a lot of them have bounced off each other or whatever. Although we have spoken to some of the guys, and they've said that they're literally in a booth on their own and have to kind of react to nothing. No one giving him a response, but they've got to pretend that someone is.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, one good example to give an idea of how the direction has changed, we went from Dynasty Warriors 3 to Dynasty Warriors 7.
Mm-hmm.
A good scale on how far directing has coming as well. Excuse me, how far directing has come, and how far along voice acting is coming to being more of a recognized art, so to speak.
And some of them are the same voices from early on to the current editions, but they sound quite different because of how much they how smoothly the voices flow in a conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
That was probably they didn't use in a lot of games they didn't used to flow. The conversation never used to flow. It used to just they'll speak their part and then it'll just kind of cut off before someone else gives a response, and it just kind of felt broken.
Mm-hmm. It would just kind of, okay, well, say it like this, and then didn't fit the context.
Yeah. I mean, I was playing Resident Evil 1 the other day, and it's
I already know.
Absolutely terrible.
I already know.
It's absolutely terrible. But the game hasn't lost its charm. It's just the voicing just feels horrible.
And the scripting at the time.
Yes,
I mean, let's face it,
yeah.
lockpick, master of unlocking, etc. That's all that needs to be said.
But, that was kind of the then thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, back with the Dynasty Warriors example, some of the voice actors that worked on DW3 are pretty big names now. It's just you can tell that the voicing direction in general is different. Like, the Shahal Dwin's old voice actor was the voice of Sesshomaru in Inuyasha, and then he became the voice of Clank in Ratchet and Clank, and still does the voice of Clank in Ratchet and Clank. And Dynasty Warriors 3 is constantly ripped into for cheesy voice acting.
Yeah.
And here's one of the voice actors as one of the main roles of one of Sony's biggest titles.
I didn't hear anyone ripping into games like Time Crisis for their cheesy voice acting. No, that was terrible.
Yeah, I don't really hear that many complaints about that voice acting either. The main ones I hear voice acting complaints for were Resident Evil at the time, because I think it was notoriously cheesy and it might have been done on purpose.
Yeah.
A part of me wants to believe they did it on purpose.
I don't know. Well, was this just how they directly translated from Japan and tried to make it as English as possible?
Probably.
Although, actually, even when you look at the movie sequences, because they got the real time movies, haven't they?
Yes.
In Resident Evil 1, and they're terrible, but they all look very American. So I don't think Japan got those, or Japan got their own versions of them. I don't know, but or were they exactly the same cutscenes, just but with a dub layer over the top?
I think they got the same cutscenes, but they got a different version of the game, I want to say, because I think it got released twice. Like, we got one version and Japan may have gotten another. I can't remember.
I mean, we got Resident Evil 1, and then we got the director's cut, which come out.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking director's cut. Oh no, they got the original Resident Evil 1, so yeah.
Yeah, so we had the original. But you guys, I believe, just had the director's cut, didn't you?
No, we had both.
You did have both.
We got both.
Because we had both.
Yeah, we got Resident Evil 1, and then later, I think the following year, we got the director's cut.
Yeah.
I still have my copy of Resi 1, so that's how I pretty much remember that one.
I did until someone borrowed it and never gave it back.
This sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah.
Michelle, any voice acting meeting stories that you would like to share as well from that whole convention, or expo, I should say?
Um, yeah, I guess it's like because obviously myself and the other half were cosplaying as Katetsu and Barnaby from Tiger and Bunny. I was cosplaying as the character that Yuri does the voice of. So, you know, well, his basically in the series, his nickname is Bunny. So the first thing Yuri said when he saw me was, "I promise I won't call you Bunny."
And Michelle was like, please do.
And it was quite funny because it's like in the series it's like Katetsu decides to give Barnaby this giant pink bunny for his birthday, as you do. So we were carting this
course.
giant pink bunny around the expo, and it's like it was so funny because it's like all the voice actors pretty much touched it and hugged it. It's like everyone loved the bunny.
Nice. It seemed like a nice touch for the costume, and then it just turned out to be a little something more. Everyone wanted to get the bunny.
Wasn't it when you went over to the didn't they comment over the Namco bit as well?
Yeah, it's like Baba-san actually recognized us.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because obviously in Japan, Tiger and Bunny's a lot bigger than it is, in the UK. So it's like, as soon as you need to see it.
I have no excuse because it should be on Neon Alley, and I haven't seen it.
Michelle says you have to see it.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Actually, let me. I should see the schedule, but yeah. But yeah, I think Tiger and Bunny is on Neon Alley, unless they took it off recently. But yeah.
So how did Baba-san recognize you from that costume?
Yeah, because it's like I don't know. It's just sort of it's not a crazy sort of out there sort of instantly recognizable costume, apart from maybe like the leather jacket. But yeah, that was nice. It was always nice getting to meet Baba-san. He's such a nice person.
Yeah, he's always smiling, isn't he?
Yeah, it was quite funny because actually during the Bandai panel, because obviously he had a plush of
Oh yes.
Lulu slash Rolo the cat from Zelia 2, and you just saw the projector up, and you can just see Baba-san with like the silhouette of the cat plushie behind it. And he was like waving it around, and then he actually came around the projector and was sort of peeping out at us, and then, yeah, it's so funny.
He kept dancing as well, didn't he? He kept like bobbing his head and stuff during the music.
Yeah.
He got asked which was his who was his favorite, Tipo or is it Rolo?
Yeah.
He said Rolo, didn't he?
Yeah, because Rolo's a cat and it's Cure.
And Tipo doesn't shut up.
Oh man, I still need, in order for me to get some of this, I still need to play Tales of Xillia. Michelle probably hates me right now. So
you do read Naruto. At least you're on the same wavelength for that.
Oh yeah, we're on the same painful wavelength.
Sort of just WTF, Squeenix face. That's about it, really.
Yeah.
Is that your reaction to where you were at?
Actually, we should change it from the Squeenix face to Kishimoto Sensei face.
Just that look of what?
What?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, what?
That's pretty much. I don't even know. I don't even know where to start with the Naruto stuff. Quite frankly.
So how far ahead is it of of the anime, like massively far ahead.
I would say so, because I believe the anime is only on Sasuke and Itachi versus Kabuto. If I'm not mistaken, last I checked.
No,
Whereas,
that's where America are. I wonder
oh
where the
no,
UK
oh
is.
no, America in the anime is way further back from that. The American anime is only on the Five Kage Summit.
Because wherever the American anime is, um, add about another year or so to that, and we'll probably be about there.
Yeah, the Five Kage Summit is finishing up in Neon Alley's airings of it, episode 215. So it's pretty much going on Sasuke versus Naruto at the Five Kage Summit. That's how far back the English anime is. The Japanese anime is on Sasuke and Itachi versus Kabuto, which was just recently released as a DLC fight in Ultimate Ninja Storm 3.
Okay, this goes in line with what you were saying before, where people who are playing Ninja Storm 3 and are trying to keep up with the American manga, the American anime, are going to struggle with actually recognizing some of these story plots which are being thrown in there.
To a degree, yeah. I mean, the game does a good way of handling it and keeping things in line so that it doesn't, throw them off. They explain everything. But the
I
game,
guess it spoils them.
yeah, the game spoils them a ton. I mean, the anime in America is just now finishing the first arc of the game.
Right.
To give an idea, I mean, this is just chapter 1 of Storm 3, and there's about 10 chapters to Storm 3. And the
Okay,
American anime just finished chapter 1.
so that's a lot of spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
I
But I guess,
actually just looked up on Amazon. The next DVD due for release here for Naruto is just after Pain Attacks Konoha.
Wow.
So that says it all.
So Europe got spoiled for 2 games straight.
So and that's just, that's the DVD releases. We don't actually have it air on our TV, I don't believe. I don't think we have a channel that shows it.
We don't have it air on our televisions either. What we need to do is, if we want stuff like Naruto and other anime like Inuyasha The Final Act, Naruto Rise of the Yokai Clan, Ranma One Half, and Tiger and Bunny, Vampire Knight, things of that nature.
Yeah.
You have to pretty much subscribe to Neon Alley's service on PlayStation 3, 360, or on PC using a Shonen Jump account or a Viz account, and you sign up to that for $6.95 a month. You pretty much have a dedicated anime channel.
Yeah.
That's 24/7, and it now has a new catch-up service.
Is that in line with whatever gets released on DVD your way?
Or
are your DVD releases further behind that?
I think
or ahead.
I think our DVD releases are a little behind that now. Before, the DVD releases were ahead because there was a time where Naruto Shippuden was not airing on television, at all, because Disney XD had the rights at one point. And then come Hidan Kakazu arc, they just stopped airing it. And Viz was still releasing DVDs. So the Viz DVDs were approaching the Invasion of Pain arc, but there was no airing of it on TV, so it was, what's the point? But now, since, Neon Alley kind of synced with the DVD releases, the episodes air on Neon Alley first, and then they eventually get a DVD release that compiles 15 episodes or so.
Okay. Yeah, because I think we only just randomly get the bulk DVDs, I think.
Yeah, we kind of get that too. I don't know if we get individual sets anymore, but we do get our box sets. Our next box set is supposed to come out January 14th, and it contains episodes 206 to 218. And Neon Alley is going to premiere episode 216 this week. So, yeah, you can, pretty much our Neon Alley airings and the DVD releases are back are on what would be considered a normal schedule. They premiere on TV first, and they get released in bulk on DVD.
Right.
So, yeah, that's pretty much the state they're in now. I still personally believe Disney XD took one look at the upcoming Sasuke versus Orochimaru, Sasuke versus Deidara, and Sasuke versus Itachi fights, and just went, we can't air this. Because I still firmly believe Disney XD had no idea what they got into when they bought the anime. Or bought the rights to it.
Yeah, because we're even behind with pretty much everything, like massively.
Yes.
Because we're still kind of getting fed our Dragon Ball Z orange box sets.
Yeah, that I'm aware. And on our end, the orange boxes are kind of, several years finished.
Yeah.
Although, hey, if they re-release the Dragon boxes in some way, we're all for that.
Yes, they're a bit like the Manga UK. They wanted to release on Blu-ray,
Mm-hmm.
but because they're really restricted, but because if it never happened in Japan, i.e., if the Blu-ray release wasn't made available in Japan, they can't do it over here.
Right.
And I believe the same thing goes for America. So therefore, if there's not a Blu-ray release of a series or a movie from one of the Toei Animation in Japan, or whoever's running it at the time, it they won't authorize it to actually go onto a Blu-ray elsewhere. Hence why a lot of this stuff which you would have hoped would get a little bit of a makeover or a visual upgrade.
Yeah.
Although in some sense it's only slight, they're not getting it.
That's strange. Regional differences, I assume?
Apparently they're really strict in Japan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If you don't get it, we don't get it.
Yeah, I see. In America...
Or the other way around, yeah.
Yeah.
If we don't get it, you don't get it. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. In America, Funimation was about to do the same thing, a Blu-ray DBZ release, but they got hammered for the idea of it because they were going to do a Blu-ray DBZ release, but the problem is they were also going to do it on, I believe it was the 16:9 screen ratio.
Right.
And 16:9 is cropping. Like, there's bits of the screen that are cropped, and even though it'll be higher quality, bits of the screen were cropped off of it. And they even had this as a vote. Do you want 4:3 or 16:9? And a lot of people that I've seen on Twitter who are Dragon Ball Z enthusiasts were saying, only way to go is 4:3. Minimal to no screen cropping. It's going to be pretty much the perfect fit.
Yeah.
But for some reason, 16:9 won the poll, and they were going to release the Blu-ray version of Dragon Ball Z in 16:9 format, but that has been the last I've heard of it because I haven't heard of any releases or any news coming out of it since then. So I don't know if they put the brakes on that or something of that nature. Because I recall Viz, I don't know if Viz did this as a dig intentionally, but when they announced the HD Blu-ray versions of Ranma 1/2 being remastered, they went out of their way to say Ranma 1/2 is a 4:3 ratio, no cropping. And obviously Twitter took that as a dig at DBZ because everyone knows Funimation's issues with the cropping of the DBZ releases. So I don't know. It seems like Dragon Ball Z on Blu-ray just isn't meant to be at this point. Because your side is having that issue, and our side, is kind of like, you release this on 16:9 and you will never hear the end of it.
Was that for the series?
Yes.
Or a film?
I believe it was going to be for the series. They were going to re-release DBZ on Blu-ray in its entirety.
Right.
HDified, in Blu-ray, remastered, with the current voice cast.
Okay.
as they redid the voices, I believe, for I should specify the DBZ voice cast, not the Kai voice cast.
Right.
With that dub, because I keep forgetting Kai changed several voices. But yeah, DBZ on Blu-ray just doesn't seem meant to be.
So are you guys still going on from our last podcast, are you guys still playing Pokemon, or have you given up? Because I'm not seeing a lot. I'm not seeing so much Pokemon activity going about. I know how everyone was really hyping about it for so long.
I haven't been because other things have been cropping up. So
Hmm.
I've been playing other things on PS3 and doing things on the internet, and then I recently did a narration thing for someone else and things of that nature. But yeah, I still have my Pokemon stuff to do. I mean, I'll still live tweet it when I get back to playing it, but I just haven't
Yeah.
played it in this time frame.
What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, it's like I kind of got sidetracked with Ace Attorney 5 and I went back into Dynasty Warriors 8, so that's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I remember. Yeah, you were saying you were playing it before we jumped on air. Dynasty Warriors 8. See, I'm now getting. I acquired a Vita last week, and so with all the games that are on my PS Plus list, as well as 5 games which I did get, which were almost essentials, I thought. Uh, so I got Dead or Alive 5 Plus. I got Shinobu 2, which is like similar to Tenchu. Dynasty Warriors Next, Dragon's Crown, and Persona 4 Golden. That topped with the Atelier games which I've got on there, Uncharted and other things which were then on my PS Plus list. I don't know if you've looked at my at the stuff that's popped up on Raptor. There's like usually at least 3 games I've played in a day, which is ridiculous. But I can never decide what to play.
Well, at least it sounds like a very nice list for the Vita games that you picked up.
Yes, I love them. I I love them all, but and so hard to choose which one I actually want to just focus and stick to. I mean, when I start playing, I'm okay, but obviously with more so with a portable, you kind of do things in shorter bursts, and when you put it down, you kind of then think, oh, do I want to actually continue with that game, or do I want to play something else?
Yeah.
And I've also been playing Saints Row, a lot of Saints Row.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was doing just I think it was kind of out of the blue. I decided to play Saints Row 3, and then I kind of got hooked on playing that, and finished off all the missions, the main story missions and stuff on that, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna go and snap up Saints Row 4 as it was on offer on Amazon, and so I bought that, and that's even, but that Saints Row 3 Plus, it's just so awesome, just going around with you acquire special powers, which does make sense. The whole thing does make sense. It's not like you get these bizarre powers for nothing. There is goes in line with the story and the fact that you're in a kind of false reality.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a machine, a simulation, and therefore you bug the machine, which then allows you to have some extra strengths and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, like I don't ever get any cars anymore. I literally just super jump and fly between places instead of getting in a car, because cars are so slow in comparison.
Yeah, I've noticed that seeing some of the preview vids of it. It looks so much more
Yeah,
fun to just go that route rather than driving.
yeah, just like cars are just so secondary. Well, not even secondary. I, I I use flying as my primary. I use sprinting as my secondary, and then cars will probably be tertiary, or you know right in the back. That's of course I have to for a particular mission. But the game's just so much fun.
Sweet, sweet. I've never played the Saints Row series, but Saints Row 4 does look fantastic. As did Saints Row the Third, to be honest.
Saints Row the Third was really good. Saints Row 2 I didn't get into it in any way at all, and it kind of made me hesitant to even pick up Saints Row the Third. but I did, and it's actually quite a different game. I mean, people always trying to compare it between that and Grand Theft Auto, which the only comparison really is the fact that it is a sandbox game where you can steal cars, but there's just so much difference in the style of the game.
Right.
One's just completely taken the mick the whole time, and it's always poking fun at either itself, the characters, or stereotyping things in such a strong way. Whereas I think GTA tries to be a little bit more, there is fun stuff in there, but it tries to be a little bit more serious.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, the way GTA and Saints Row are now, it just doesn't make sense to compare them.
No. When you throw in the superpowers, I mean that's just it's a completely different game.
Yeah.
And I haven't played GTA 5. I mean, if Justin was on, he could probably give me he can give us the GTA 5 side of things. But for me, I mean, Saints Row 4 is just awesome. I prefer something which is just a lot of fun as opposed to something that's really stressful and tries to be too realistic or anything like that.
Right. Well, next time if Justin's up for it, we can have that talk, Saints Row and GTA.
Yeah.
Since you obviously have Saints Row and he's played more of the GTA side of things.
Yeah.
As for me, while GTA was making its runs, I was playing the Zone of the Enders HD collection.
I've still got that in its cellophane. And do you remember when, like, just before it came out, that was one thing that I was really, I couldn't wait to play.
Mm-hmm.
So much come out during that time. I haven't even touched the game yet.
Wow. For me, I just waited until it got patched, and then I picked it up, and then I was lucky enough to find the limited edition of it. And
Well, we didn't get a limited edition over here.
No?
No.
Oh wow, I'm actually kind of surprised by that.
Konami UK didn't. Apparently, they researched it and didn't get enough feedback. I don't recall seeing any research or getting any questions asked, but yeah, apparently they did, and they didn't get enough feedback to justify putting out a collector's edition of the game, which really sucks.
Well, yeah, that
Because I was hoping we'll get something which was similar to the American one, and I was tempted to import actually, but I didn't, and I just ended up getting the standard.
yeah, I got the limited edition because I'm a sucker for art books, as most of you probably know. Before we go on to the next topic, is there anything else either of you wanted to say regarding the MCM Expo?
No, I think I pretty much covered everything that that I've done, apart from eating all the pocky and stuff like that.
I recall seeing a picture of you, both of you actually. It was both of you and a few others with chin that popped up. That was at MCM?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that wasn't at the end of the Sunday or something.
Yeah, it's because we ran into Besh and Noodle Cloud as well.
Yes,
Same.
yes. That's who the other people were.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's Get a Life podcast and Noodle Cloud.
Awesome. So you all got to meet together on like the final day at least.
Well, yeah, because they only turned up on the Sunday, so they weren't there the rest of the time.
Okay.
I was actually working on Tecmo Koei on the Sunday, so they kind of come over to me. Then I didn't even I recognized Bish, but because I've seen him a few times before, but I didn't recognize Noodles at all, and that was kind of embarrassing. She stood up to me and she said, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, no.
Well, she kind of has her picture as her Twitter profile.
Yeah, but it is dark, and yeah, I didn't even click, and I was we were struggling with the TVs because they kept bleeding things kept turning off, and
yeah,
and we couldn't turn on the TVs by using what should be the TV button functions.
Yeah,
we had to go over to Rising Star and grab a Samsung remote control so we can turn on the TVs again, hit the standby button.
Right.
which is when I bumped into Troy Baker and said, I looked up and I didn't even know what to say. I just said, "Hey, dude," and then they just carried on walking. I just literally turned around and bumped into him, and then looked up and I was like, "Oh, hey, dude." And that was it. Like
You
he just kind of blank look. They'd just literally finished on the signing for the Warner Brothers thing.
Yeah.
So they were going off to lunch. So they were in a bit of get the hell out of here.
A golden opportunity placed in your lap. Hey, dude.
Yeah. I know.
You had one job, right?
I know. It was rather shocking. It was quite embarrassing, actually. Like, just after doing that and then thinking about it, it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have gone better.
But no, that's pretty much, that was my MCM in a nutshell.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Michelle, anything you want to add about MCM?
Apart from how insanely busy it was,
Oh yes.
it was. I think they said they actually had. I think they said 88,000 attendees.
I thought it was more than that. It just to put it into perspective, Lawrence, they normally have the expo on one side of the hall, on one side of the venue. This year, this time they actually opened up both sides, and they had the whole of the main hall with a lot more space in it. So when there were no visitors, there were just loads and loads of space. That space was completely chock-a-block the whole day on Saturday. It was the busiest I've ever seen it.
That's kind of packed, chaotic atmosphere, huh?
Yeah. Try squeezing in past Tokyo Toys.
Yeah.
You know what that's like, Michelle, right?
Oh God.
The narrowest corridors.
Wow. Well,
Or there's like one stand that had a giant Pikachu mascot, and it's
Oh yeah.
and it's like they had it in May as well, I believe, but it's like it kept blocking the sort of the walkway, so no one could get by.
you were
And so
supposed
did the
to hug the
Pac-Man.
Pikachu.
The Pac-Man
Not
did
the
as well,
Pikachu
didn't
close.
it?
Oh yeah. Well, you can't hug the Pikachu if it's blocking the whole, walkway. It can't get by. It's causing a traffic jam.
But if you lure it away from the hole with a hug, it opens the pathway. So you have to think of these things. The Pikachu was there to hug.
Should have told him to electrocute everyone.
Oh well, that works too. So overall, MCM Expo, final thoughts, I guess, verdict on it, how fun it was.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
Cool. Well, glad you guys had fun there at least, and glad you were able to go to the panels and do some things and meet some peeps over at the MCM Expo.
Yeah.
Cool. So shifting gears from MCM to now, you could say, more current happenings. Since we're recording this on the 14th, we are pretty much literally on the eve of what's going to be the next generation of gaming. Tomorrow's big release in America for our end is the PS4. It comes out in Europe, I believe, 2 weeks later.
No. Yes.
Yep.
2 weeks later, because next week is Xbox One.
Mm-hmm. And then
Xbox One is releasing at the same date for you guys and us, both territories, isn't it?
Yes. And I
and then
believe the 29th is the PS4
yeah,
launch in England. Okay.
yeah.
So for North America, November 15th, and in England and in Europe
Well,
in
Europe
general,
in general, yeah.
yeah, November 29th, and then a worldwide rollout release schedule for the PS4. But as it stands, tomorrow will be the start of the next gen for the United States, and next week will be the Xbox One's release, as Wright mentioned. So, with us so close to next gen, what do you guys think of the next gen? How it's shaping up so far?
Um, well, I mean, I did have a PS4 on pre-order, and I recently cancelled, um, due to one title I did really want being postponed until next year. And there's not really, well, there are some really nice looking titles, but nothing really that's making me want to buy. Um, Not right off the bat. So yeah, so I'm holding out until next year, I think now.
Okay, that I can see that. I mean, the launch titles for the PS4, they're good,
Mm,
but it's nothing, stellar, mind-blowing, must grab
yeah,
at the moment. And the things
I
that
mean,
are there are like the multi-platform titles.
yeah, and if you're into playing if you're into playing your first person shooters, you've got a host of titles to be playing. I mean, you got your Call of Duty, which is getting the upgrade. You got your Battlefield 4, which is getting the upgrade. You got your Killzone. Um, what's Xbox One getting on launch? I can't remember.
Xbox One has, I believe
And don't
that.
say Titan. Don't say Titanfall
No, no,
because
no,
that's not till next year.
no. It's not. They don't have Titanfall for launch, but I believe Dead Rising 3 is a launch title. Rise
Hmm.
Son of Rome is a launch title.
Yeah, I'm trying
Um,
to think. Is there any first-person shooters? I did apart from those couple of third parties. I don't think there is. Is there?
um, I don't think an FPS is on launch for them. No, outside of obviously COD Ghosts and BF4,
Yeah,
the ports,
yeah.
from last gen and multi-platform.
Which are apparently reporting issues, especially COD Ghosts.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Trying to think. PS4 is suffering frame rate issues,
Mm.
and the Xbox One version is suffering the native resolution issue.
Yeah. But
You know,
he,
it's it's my when it comes to things like the resolution, it would be quite minor in terms of off the bat looking at it. But the fact that these are the next generation of hardware, and they're supposed to have a whole pack, be packing a heck of a lot of power and stuff. The fact that I think it was COD Ghost that's going to only be running at a native 720p is pretty poor.
yeah. And apparently every version is suffering from the frame rate dips of COD Ghosts from
Yeah,
the
but
scenes of it.
well, I think I don't know if Xbox One are having because all the PlayStation 4 next gen reviews got put out this week. So
Yes.
I believe the Xbox One stuff will all be next week. So obviously we can find out if there's anything that they have not, that reviewers and stuff have not been able to talk about up until next week. But yeah, there's been a few issues with games on the PS4 with regards to um, they're not, they don't quite run as expected, and some people were even saying that they would prefer to just continue to play on the current gen.
Wow. Hmm.
It's like,
But
did you guys hear about issues with the PS4 bricking?
yes, yeah,
I've
that was stuff that was coming out today. Yeah,
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 that's a bit awkward.
I've heard stuff about that. Don't even know what to make of it, quite frankly.
yeah,
Because
people having them delivered and they're they're bricking, and IGN had to have theirs replaced.
yeah, which is strange and a little disconcerting, to be honest.
Hmm.
But it's
There was a there was that guy. Read the report today. There was a guy who won a console, and he was supposed to be the first to get it,
mhm.
and he got the console, and it didn't turn on. well, it turned on, but it wouldn't run on his TV. It didn't have any output at all.
Wow.
And so he had to send it back, and he's been told he's got to wait 5 to 6 days to have it repaired or looked at. So obviously it's going to be after everyone else has got it. So, so the fact that he was the first person to get it and to play it, at home, is gone thrown out the window.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I've heard reports where one such user was, I think, tinkering with the power while it was in the middle of an update.
Right.
I mean, I heard that off of one, but I'm also hearing the other stuff of, like you said, bricking and things of that nature. So it's kind of, you look at it and it's like, is this... I mean, it's not going to hurt Sony just yet.
No.
Because all the pre-orders are already, there and settled and done.
And it's, it is the really, really early stage. I mean, it shouldn't be happening quite like that, but it is the real early stages. And obviously there'll be patches. I believe it was someone was saying it was after they put on a 1.5 patch. That's when their console stopped running.
Yeah.
So they probably got a patch for that patch or whatever.
Oh, it's great. That's wonderful. A patch that needs to fix the patch. That always works.
Someone brought up a very good thing today. Good comment. And that was you're playing a game, the data becomes corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine having to reinstall 50 gigabytes worth of data.
I see, this is the thing I keep hearing with how Sony's handling the data, or at least the next gen might be handling it in general. But the way I keep hearing it is, it's not like it's installing 50 gigs straight of data.
No, you install while you install and you can start playing, because it tends to install certain files first.
Right, like a cache.
Yes, and therefore you can play while it's installing, or it would be installing the single player while you're playing the multiplayer and things like that.
Right, and then as you remove the game, it deletes the irrelevant files and keeps the main installed base data.
I believe so. But I mean, still, having to reinstall that.
Yeah, that could get annoying.
And it's still not still that's not tried and tested in a regular household at regular internet speeds. So although you can simultaneously play and download, I don't know how fast people at home are actually going to be able to download.
But
whether or not they they can still play while it's downloading, because I'm sure you have to download a certain amount of the content first.
But if it's being installed, from a disk, then it's not going to need the internet.
Well, you'd hope so.
It wouldn't, because it's installing the disk.
Yeah, because I think the disk works in a similar manner to how the PS Vita, for example, works, where you install every time you install a cartridge, it installs part of the game.
Yes,
but only a little bit.
Because I can say this because I already have like 2 PS4 games. On the back of the box, they say mandatory 50 gigs.
Mandatory?
Yes, you need 50 gigs minimum for the game. And I believe that the way it's doing it is that cache system. While the disc is in, it'll be installing in the background and storing the relevant files of what you're playing. But then once you're done and you remove the disc, it'll delete the irrelevant files and keep the base install data. And then it'll go from there. But in order for it to make sure that it can handle the entire game, it needs 50 gigs minimum when you play the game.
That's fine if you're doing it from the disc, but if you download it from a download store, then you're a bit screwed.
Yeah, if you're downloading it from a download store, then it's going to be 50 gigs flat. Yeah. Because the game is going to be 50 gigs. Because I think 50 gigs is the max size of the Blu-ray, and I think these next-gen titles are maxing the Blu-ray.
Ooh, what did you make of the news that third-party retailers will be selling PlayStation network games? So I think Amazon is on is on there, which means now there's competition for digital games bit, you know, in a similar manner to Steam, because you can buy Steam games off the shelf from, you know, in the UK you can buy it from places like Game and stuff, which is similar to GameStop. And you basically just buy a card and you get a code. Or you know, you not a card. You can buy the prepaid card things
Right.
for credit from the stores. I mean, from the online
Or
stores, you can actually buy the games.
yeah, like by the code, and it'll give you
And
the
they'll give you the key.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I like that sort of thing. More access to everybody. If someone, you know, wants, and also it enables gifting in its own way too.
Yes.
It's a better way to gift someone, you know, so if they want a specific game, you can go, oh, you want this from the PlayStation Store? I'll just buy it from Amazon for you, give you the pass key,
Yeah.
and then you can put it on your end.
Or even just, you know, or even if they can't decide what they want, you can just give them Amazon vouchers. I'm sure you can buy Amazon credit vouchers or whatever.
Yes.
And you know, they can then spend that as they wish on whatever games they want. Be them digital or whatever.
Yeah. I honestly do like that sort of thing.
And obviously, it can create competition for price, you know, for competitive pricing, which is the main thing that I'm interested in. And do you remember me bringing that up when we were first talking about it? Like, I think it was like last year or something like that. You know, the fact that we were talking about the fact that gaming's all moving on to the digital era, but there's no competition because, you know, the only stores that will sell it is the Xbox Live store, or at their set price, or the PSN store at the set price, and you can buy it, and you couldn't buy it elsewhere. But now, you know, I was expecting them to be able to offer a retailer to sell the codes, etc.
Right. Michelle, you've purchased imported products from digital stores, have you? Like you've
Not
purchased, since obviously you live in the UK, you've purchased American or Japanese PSN things before?
Yeah, it's like I did download Warriors Orochi free from the US PSN. And obviously I've got Japanese DLC as well, so.
Okay, so does it work in around that manner where you like purchase it and they give you the key and it just goes from there?
Yeah, it's just so you can just buy it and well, obviously I can't use a card for it. I have to use buy like the prepaid cards online. Then I can
Oh,
just,
right.
download it straight away.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess you have to buy credit.
Yeah, because you can't, obviously, if you're buying
Yeah.
something from the US store, you have to have a US
Yeah.
address and a
Card.
US card.
Yes.
So you just
Yeah.
have to go for the prepaid cards online.
Okay.
Which was the issue. You know, when we did the Dead or Alive tournament a while back, and we were giving the monetary codes, credit for the Xbox and the PSN. I was having so much trouble trying to get those codes because I was in the UK and the winners were in America.
Yeah. So just I guess it's just another extra thing to look out for PSN, and I believe Xbox Live Arcade has been doing this.
Xbox, Microsoft have not announced it. I mean, they Microsoft have been working with third-party retailers anyway.
Yeah.
You can buy what was currently the Xbox Live Arcade games, things like Minecraft and stuff like that, on prepaid cards from retailers.
Okay.
So so you can, and I think from our game online store, you can actually buy some Xbox Live Arcade games. You can't buy digital games like full games from anything else. You can't buy, for example, Killzone 3 or anything like that as a digital code from their stores. Well, actually, Killzone isn't Microsoft, but whatever. You can buy Gears
I
of
got
War.
what you mean.
You
Yeah.
couldn't buy Gears of War 3 digital on a prepaid card because they don't do it. It has to be. It's always the arcade games. And they used to be kind of set in a value of Microsoft points, but obviously now they've scrapped the Microsoft points and it's all pounds.
Yeah. All right. So in either event, it's just going to add a little more competition over their digital sales, and it
Hmm.
shows that they're working with more third-party retailers to get their product out there.
Yeah, I mean, people are worried that digital gaming is going to kill off high street retail, which even this form is, could do. I mean, people. I mean, I know some people do prefer the personal approach and stuff, but most people are now, but they're pretty much buying everything online. And I think a lot of these, because I know the Amazon thing, you can only buy, obviously buy it from the Amazon online store, and I think you can only buy them from. I can't remember who the other retailer in America is that signed up, but you can only buy it from their online store. Um, you can't go and buy it over the counter. So it's still going to kill, you're still going to kill off people going into the high street stores and stuff.
You'd think this was done as a move maybe for the next gen as well, to make it easier to purchase digital content with the advent of the next gen and a move toward digital downloads for games.
I think in a way that is the point. Um, I know that the idea was to focus on moving into a digital world to kind of one to say, one to do their ethical thing, so they so would say, to prevent packaging and all of that stuff, um, and to drive down costs. I think that's probably more so the case, to drive down costs on their part, so they don't have to go and get them printed and the discs made and everything else. Although by the looks, look at the PSN store right now. I can buy, if I wanted to, Assassin's Creed 4 from a retailer for maybe 35 to £40.
Right.
I'll go onto the PSN store and it's 50 quid. I don't, buying digitally isn't cheap right now, and I think that's what is needed. Steam, I mean, look at Steam. It's just so much, so much going for that. Right, right now you can. I think the console markets are trying to keep up with, are trying to do the Steam thing, where they want the digital gaming to go ahead and to push forward. And now they're looking at to what Steam are doing, because Steam are now selling off to, you can buy Steam games from other retailers. They'll sell you Steam keys, and I think they're trying to do the similar thing, which Steam is able to then drive down the prices of their games and stuff, and have those massive sales, etc. So hopefully we do see more of that in the future in the console markets.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So with that, are there any launch titles that obviously we covered a little bit of that for what I mentioned of the PS4, but are there any real like launch titles that capture any interest from either end, in your opinion?
Japan, Dynasty Warriors.
Yes.
Don't make me jealous.
Because they're actually getting a bundle.
I saw that. I did see that. That
I mean,
that looked
no,
like a nice bundle.
it's not logical for us to get a bundle.
No.
There's not that market here, but yeah, they're getting a bundle, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That's the bundle I want.
8 plus XL on a PS4 and a PS4.
I mean, we have had today announced a Second Son bundle.
Oh. For the next Infamous title, yeah?
Hmm.
Nice.
So when that releases, there's going to be a bundle for that.
As
I would assume Watch Dogs is still going to get a bundle when the game releases. But I think next, after Christmas, the holidays, however you want to say it, after that time, and there are more releases, I think we're going to see a lot more game bundles creep up on the market. So I think that'll be the time for me to actually pick one up.
Yeah.
When there is something that really interests me.
closer to when you have something that actually catches your eye.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And Michelle, anything for you?
Not really. It's like the games I'm most sort of interested in are sort of not coming out until at least sort of, a year or so. Sort of, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 15, if it ever
Hmm.
comes out.
8 years later.
Do you remember that game from Project Ico or Team Ico?
Oh, The Last
Uh,
Guardian.
Last Guardian. Yeah, do you remember that game? Yeah,
Yes, I remember that game.
it reminds me of
That's
Final Fantasy 15.
yeah, pretty much. By the time Last Guardian comes out, it'll probably be on the last console. Speaking of games that might catch your interest, Michelle, apparently, from what just came out news-wise, they stated from an interview with Baba-san that they're currently working on next-gen PlayStation titles for the Tales of series. So,
Really?
yes, so the Tales series is skipping the Xbox One, Xbox 360, Xbox One coming up, and because they feel their core fan base is leaning toward PS3, PS4.
Hmm.
So, because of that, the Tales of series is progressing on the PS4.
I have a feeling that this generation they're going to be doing the same. I think Tecmo Koei in Europe are going to be doing the same thing, and in America, with likely focusing on one console.
Yes, yeah. I got that feeling from Tecmo Koei with the recent, no, like complete silence about
Yeah.
Xbox releases, and even Arc System Works is doing that right now
Hmm.
because Arc System Works is they released Blaze Blue Calamity Trigger, Continuum Shift, and Continuum Shift Extend on PS3 360, but the fourth game in the series, Chrono Phantasma, is PS3 Vita. Was it Vita? No, just PS3 exclusive
Yeah.
with no 360 release. Eh,
I think Namco are going to be doing a lot of that. I think you're going to get Tecmo Koei doing it a lot. Square Enix are a bit more open, so they're going to be, they're going to be a bit more multi-platform.
right.
Um, I think Konami are going to be very open. Although, if you saw, apparently PlayStation 4 is getting exclusive content for Metal Gear Solid 5
Yes. And there's supposed to be an announcement on game trailers that Hideo Kojima
tomorrow.
said would be a mind-blowing announcement for the PS4. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's going to be interesting to hear.
Hmm.
And with Arc System Works, also their new game, Guilty Gear Xrd Sign, is exclusive to PS3, PS4.
Yeah.
So we already have like companies that are pretty much taking their stance on one console or the other.
Well, then look at companies like Nippon Ishi Software America, and who are now like Idea Factory, who are doing a lot of the JRPG titles and stuff. They're still going to be just focusing right now. They're focusing on PS3 still because there's still that market in Japan. So there's a lot of PS3 titles in the Japanese schedule to come over here.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the same thing is going to happen with the next generation. They're just going to be focusing on the PlayStation 4 and kind of skipping the Xbox again, because I don't think. I mean, although the Xbox, Microsoft are trying to say that they are, trying to push the console in Japan, I don't think they're trying enough, and I don't think Japan wants it
Yeah,
enough.
I don't get that
So
feeling either. Just in general with the Xbox One. I mean,
yeah,
Japan wasn't really fond of the 360
no,
like at all for quite some time. So them trying to push the Xbox One in Japan, it just feels like the way Microsoft did certain things in their promotion of the Xbox One,
yeah.
they kind of shut themselves in the foot multiple times along the way.
And I mean, I fear that they're going, when they do release the console in Japan, they're going to release a very watered down version of the console, in terms of software what's going to be available. So I think a lot of the features which are meant to be made available for the Xbox One console won't be available in Japan, at least not for a while. Things like the television features and other things like that.
Yeah.
So, what interest would they have?
Yeah, there's not going to be too much with it, especially since a lot of the games, have, you could say, that kind of Western
Hmm.
touch to them. I mean, obviously, Dead Rising's made by Capcom, but
Yeah,
Dead Rising 3 doesn't look like Dead Rising's 1 or 2 in
no.
its style and how it carries itself. You got Rise, Son of Rome. I don't know if that's going to be much interest in Japan. Titanfall. Can't that the Titanfall I like the look of, but I don't know how that's going to carry over outside of like America and UK. And the closest thing I see on their list so far that could maybe gauge some, big interest from Japan is Dead Rising 3, obviously, and
Hmm.
Killer Instinct.
Yep.
And even then, Killer Instinct might not be that big a deal, but it's a fighting game.
I don't. Yeah. See, I have a feeling it won't be that big a deal, mostly because it's running on that free to play model,
Yeah.
and I think that's still kind of off putting.
Yeah, it still is for quite a few people. But yeah, for me, Killer Instinct kind of runs on the nostalgia fumes as well.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it looks great, the game now, but back when it first was shown at E3, I didn't like the look of it. Now, as time goes on and they fine tune this and change that, and they kind of get it together, I'm starting to like
Hmm.
it a little more and more by the look of it. But I don't think that's going to be everyone's cup of tea, because unless you grew up with Killer Instinct 1 and KI 2, KI Gold on the N64.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I, I don't know. It seems like this. It's always strange to me how Sony and Microsoft may not have the best launch titles, because I don't think they had really great launch titles on any platform cycle that they've done. But Nintendo can nail the launch lineup.
Yeah.
In at least in
I
some form, they get at least one, like, you can say, undisputed 10 out of 10 title that's just theirs.
I think it's because they have so many high quality and uh, decently scored first party titles, and I guess when it's first party, you can almost guarantee yourself to have something that the fans of your brand are actually going to be wanting.
Right. It just for Sony's end, the ones that are first party got kind of delayed a bit. Drive Club got delayed, and Infamous
Yep.
Second Son got its release announced to be later than what some people may have expected.
Yeah.
Because some people were expecting launch day, and it was really launch window. So that
Yep.
means it opens it up to February.
Hmm.
Um, so you have situations like that with Sony. Microsoft, they launch decently again, but they don't have anything that's, like, again, undisputed killer app to get at launch.
Yeah.
And then a few months down the line, they get their games out. Nintendo on day one has a 10 out of 10 title, which I always found interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll find out in like a week or so how the next gen consoles fare in general.
Yeah. I, I'm genuinely actually, I'm excited for it. I think, it is time to move on. But what they're off, just it's just the case of what they're offering right now. It just isn't for me. That's it.
Right. Michelle, you have any thoughts on that front of the next gen console war, so to speak? I hesitate to use console war, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just originally I think it's just there's so much hype about sort of the PS4 not being the Xbox One, and the sort of the whole thing with E3 and how they basically sort of I'd hate to say won, but they won E3 because the PS4 wasn't the Xbox one. I don't know. Right now, it's like I'm not really interested in next gen at all, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I probably will get a PS4 at some point just because, you know, I love my Japanese games, but I'm not a huge rush right now for it.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is, yeah,
See,
it's just sad because it's like I really sort of, because I think I'd say the PS3 so far is my favorite console. And it's like it was so sort of, I don't know, exciting to go from the PS2 to the PS3, but now it's just like PS4,
you
sort of mixed, more mixed.
you don't see the reason to go for that leap just yet.
No, yeah,
I, s- I think one of the big problems is social media. There's just so much negativity in social media, and so many reports and mixed messages and everything all the time. It kind of I think it's kind of putting a downer and a bit of a depressing mood on the whole thing. I mean, yeah, there are some exciting stories and there's some exciting videos and everything else and things cropping up, but I think the overall picture is you're just seeing all this negativity all the time on social media, and it kind of just you just want to get away from it, or you just want to play some games.
Yeah, it gets too caught up in why I hesitate to use the term console war, because people get caught up in that. They get caught
Hmm.
up in, we're gonna support this console till our dying breath. We're gonna bash this console no matter what they do. I'm gonna be a fanboy or a fangirl for this console, regardless of any either objective flaws or objective good sides the other console might have. I'm still
Hmm.
gonna bash it, and it's just
Well,
play it for it being a game console. It doesn't matter the
you know what?
side.
You know what? I mean, I will likely be picking up both. Over the course of the next couple of years, I'd say. And I'll probably have a similar opinion to what I've got at the moment, where I've got both consoles sitting in front of me, and I prefer to play certain games on one console and certain games on the other. And it's mostly to do with the controller and how things are, how the controller's set up, and that's usually my preference.
But Titanfall,
Racing games. I mean, when it comes to a first-person shooter, I don't like playing first-person shooters on PlayStation. I just don't find it as comfortable as I do on an Xbox controller. So I would opt for the Xbox 360 version of a first-person shooter over a PS3 version. Um, when it comes to a racing game, I would opt for an Xbox 360 version over a PlayStation version because I prefer the triggers on the for accelerating and braking on the Xbox than I do for the PlayStation. When it comes to fighting games, however, I like the PlayStation controller. I think the direction pad is set up in a better position, and I think the same things the same thing is in place with the next gen that's coming in. Is the controllers haven't changed enough to really change the game as such.
right?
So I think I'm going to have the same thing. I'm thinking, if I want a fighting game, I'm probably going to be wanting to get it on the PlayStation console than I will on an Xbox console. Um, I'd probably, because there will be a lot more support for it, I'll probably buy more Japanese games for the PlayStation console than I would the Xbox console. So that's pretty much where I'll end up sitting.
That makes sense. That makes sense when you put it that way. Because you can tell the controller feels, a certain way, like it was built for a certain type of game.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the
yeah,
Xbox controller feels built for, closer to shooters, because they have the
mhm,
analog stick up in the, where normally the D-pad would be.
yeah.
The D-pads, switch with the analog stick on the Xbox controller, and the trigger and bumpers feel suited to that sort of game.
And I find that more awkward when I'm trying to run a first person shooter on the PlayStation. I find that the analog stick on the left hand side is in an awkward position because I feel it should be where the D-pad is, but obviously in a fighting game I like to use the D-pad, so I prefer the D-pad to be in that position.
Right. It's more comfortable for certain games for certain things to
Hmm.
be aligned in a different manner.
Yeah. And there are games which can be, which feel comfortable on both controllers, and then just depends on whatever's cheapest,
Right, pretty much.
or if it's got or if it's got a kind of multiplayer, whatever, and whatever the majority of my friends are playing, or whoever I might be playing with is playing it on, then I'll just get that version.
Yeah.
But I can personally give a monkeys about which console's better, because they're going to have their strengths and they're going to have their weaknesses over each other. Third parties will probably be the deciding factor as to what they want to be put onto each console, and what's when it comes to things like decisions on what DLC they're going to be shoving in, and anything like that could obviously influence people's decisions as to what they want. So I think the third party publishers and developers are probably going to be calling the shots again.
Yeah.
Or obviously Microsoft or Sony, depending on who pays the most money for it.
Right. And also Sony's approach with the indie devs too.
Yeah.
That's going to factor into things as well a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Microsoft are trying. It'd be nice to see, where they go with it in the future, but I don't think it's there right now.
No. I don't think so either at the moment. I mean, again, a lot of the things that Microsoft screwed up were at the reveal and at, I want to say, pre-E3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that pre-E3 conference, yeah.
That conference really shot Microsoft in the foot. People wanted a gaming console. People wanted to see a gaming console. They saw an entertainment box. They saw a cable box. Then E3 came about, and I will repeat what I said back when E3 happened. Microsoft did what they needed to do. They showed games, and that's it. Which is fine, but all Sony needed to do at that point was not be the Xbox One. And Sony had it. And guess what? PS4 wasn't the Xbox One, and hence people were looking more forward to Sony's than Xbox. And then, not to mention the price point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think with regards to an initial choice, I think price also has a big influence on what I want, and I think because I have PS Plus, I think that's also going to be making an influence on my decision to adopt getting a PS4 before I get an Xbox One. And the fact that I've now got a PS Vita which will be compatible with the PlayStation 4, that's another factor which rolls into a strong side for the PlayStation 4 as my initial console.
Right. Well, I will say this much: next gen is certainly going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. Right now, it doesn't feel like too much of a leap between current and next. Like in terms of quality wise, from what I'm hearing, from what you're hearing from things.
I mean, graphically, yeah, there's a leap, but I don't know if we can judge quality wise just yet. I don't even know if there's going to be much of a leap in terms of that until like maybe like a year down the line or a few months down the line. Because all we hear are the devs saying that working on the PS4 is amazing compared to what we had on the PS3 and 360 working. Because I remember nightmare stories of developers working on the PS3's architecture, looking at it like, what on earth is this? And it was only Insomniac that looked and went, oh, this is simple. We can make a game every year. And then they made Resistance and Ratchet & Clank and alternated them. But outside of that, now we have devs saying that what a joy it is to work on the next gen. So maybe there'll be a quality difference, months down the line as people get more familiar with the architecture. But, compared to where it was last gen, at the start of this gen with the PS3, it already sounds different, at least. Graphically, some of the games look like there's a leap, at least. So I don't know if it's going to be noticeable immediately how much of a quality change there is. You just have to take devs at
Yeah,
their word, I guess.
I think, like with the every gaming console life cycle, um, this is the early stage. I mean, look at what we got from the beginning of this current gen to what we've got now. It's just a mass. There's just so much potential, for what you can do with the system. Just need just need the time for them to actually work it out and push the console to its limits.
Right, and start figuring things and start,
Hmm.
tinkering and here. Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you. One thing I'm not looking forward to is things becoming too hyper realistic. I don't want that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
I want to be playing games. I don't want to be playing life.
Yeah. Which is which
You
is
know.
honestly part of why I actually like the look of that game, Resogun, that's coming out on launch for the PS4.
Yes.
It's nice, colorful, spacey shooter type thing, and I honestly like that sort of thing.
Mm.
So we need more colorful titles. I'll just say that much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're getting too many samey and too many bland looking titles.
Yeah. Too many things going for the hyper realistic look. I
Yeah.
mean, not enough color. I mean, that's one of my concerns with Dead Rising 3. It was a
It's
colorful game.
Yeah, now it's got kind of grayish tones to it,
Yeah,
grayish sepia tones, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, now it's just, like you said, that hyper realistic look that they went for.
Hmm.
Which is, again, why I kind of look at Resogun and go, oh, that looks awesome, because of how, colorful it is. I mean, I
Well,
don't want to.
someone made a point that games like that don't show off high definition graphics. You need color. You need sort of vibrant colors and things like that, which is the same with films. When there's too many grays, browns, and blacks, etc., it's just dull.
Yes.
And when you get a film like, for example, Avatar, which uses so many bright colors, and you watch it in HD compared to a standard definition, and the same with gaming, the colorful stuff really stands out and looks beautiful, but the other stuff just doesn't really push it. You just don't know. You don't
It
really
doesn't
see it.
shine.
Yeah, it doesn't really offer what it should be.
Yeah, I get you. I feel kind of the same, because you can notice that. I mean, what's it called? The NBA 2K14 on the
Hmm.
next gen. It's a good example of that in regards to colors making things pop more,
Yeah,
because obviously in the NBA all the jerseys have different colors. You have
yeah,
red, blue, gold, orange, all these different colors on the jerseys. The courts have all these different colors in the paint on the courts, and the bright lights of the arena is reflecting off of the court floor, and then you see like the roof of the stadium, off of the shine off the court floor, and it really pops next gen. Like the
yeah.
colors really pop for this type of game. But then you see something that's dull and gray, and it's like, oh, that's uninteresting.
Well, for example, well, I mean, if you're comparing sports games, I mean, compare your NBA to FIFA. I mean, FIFA is just a green pitch and stuff. There's not really, we don't have paint on our pitches or anything like that. The only kind of color is really the banners that are on the outsides, but they're not that vibrant enough to kind of scream out, "This looks beautiful."
Yeah,
You know, which is where things like Halo look. When you get games like Halo look fantastic because they use a lot of color in
yeah.
those games.
Halo 4 was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, when I first saw Halo 4, I thought that game was the case that we didn't need a next gen. Because when you consider that objectively, the 360 is, I believe, the weaker console with the
hmm,
weaker. I don't want to use the wrong term. I almost said software. The
yeah,
weaker disc format. There it is. the weaker disc format compared to the Blu-ray, and it was able to do that with Halo 4. You know, it was kind of jaw-dropping to see it, especially at its time. And
Yeah.
now we're advancing to the next gen, and it makes me wonder, can Halo push it that much more in the next gen?
I hope it does. I mean, I'm not a massive Halo player, but in terms of setting a benchmark and for what people should be, for what these developers should be achieving with getting something that, if people want something that looks fantastic, then you're going to have a benchmark. And I think that those games kind of push it to that level, and it's where things like colorful JRPGs and stuff like that go in, because they use a lot of color. They do use a lot of color and stuff, and I think that's what makes them, when you get the high definition RPGs, they look fantastic because they use so many bright, pinks, greens, blues, whatever, just all the time.
Yeah. We need. Oh, I will just say this: we need more color in our games.
Yes. Scrap all the film like sepia tints and give us something. Yeah, give us something vibrant.
Yeah, I mean, there's a game that I saw recently. That's on Xbox Live, and it was recently released on. No, I don't want to say recently released on Steam. It was released on Steam and recently released on other PC formats, called Dust and Elysian Tale.
Mm-hmm.
That game looks beautiful. Yeah, it's a 2D, almost looks like hand drawn, style of game, but the colors and all the effects, everything pop in that world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very nice looking game. And you see things like that, and you're like, we need more of this. I mean, you have games like that, and then you have on their, the Kickstarter for Mighty Number 9, again, another colorful looking game.
Yep.
There's not enough color in video gaming today.
It's all bland.
Right. I mean, it's there, but you need to dig for it. Whereas,
which again is kind of where when you see news reports of the fact that things aren't running in their native 720, they're running in native 720p instead of 1080p or whatever, they become irrelevant, because you won't notice much difference because there's nothing that stands out.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you're running something that was vibrant and nice and colorful and gave it a comparison, then I'm sure you'll notice that difference a lot more.
Yeah. Probably better comparison done that way.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, anything that you're specifically not looking forward to in the next gen?
Apart from sort of the increase of sort of digital only sort of games, I'm not really too sort of I don't know.
As long as you get your collector's editions, you're fine.
Yeah.
As long as Michelle gets shiny things.
Yeah. All is right with the world.
But you know what? I think that that could be where this is going. You could just end up getting to a case where it's only collector's editions that are available physically, and everything else would just be digital. So if you're buying standard, you're going to buy digital, whereas you buy collectors, you want some physical items, then you buy physical. And even then, you may just get a digital download for a game instead of a disc-based game.
Yeah, it's I would be very disappointed if that ever came to pass.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does. And then they released the PlayStation 4 Slim, which doesn't have a disc drive.
No. Then they'll release the PSP Go, except in console form. That is not a good business move.
Well, speaking of digital only, it's like I've actually pre-ordered the Vita bundle with Final Fantasy X. That's digital only.
I saw that. I saw you do that. It is a very nice looking console, though. You did get the actual the Vita itself, didn't you?
Yeah,
The
it's
Final
like
Fantasy Vita, yeah.
yeah, I think it's just the Vita itself. Then you get a download code. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there'd be like a separate code for both games because I know they're separate on the Vita.
Well, you can get bundle codes, but you got to download them separately. So basically, you type in the code and you'll get the bundle, and then you'll just have to download you get the two games on your download list, and you have to download them separate. I'm sure that's how it would work.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to find the biggest memory card I could find.
I well, if you import, you can buy I think it's a 64, but I don't know how much it is. I think it's expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. I believe Sony cut pricing on some of their accessories for the Vita.
Yeah, they did. This is still expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
I bought because I got an 8 with my with the Vita, and then I bought a 16, and the 16 I think was about £25, which is it's a fair amount of money for a little data stick, which I can buy an SD card with a lot more data for a lot cheaper a price.
It's like I just checked on Amazon.com.
Hmm.
The RRP for a 32 gig one is $99. That's 32 gigs. But Amazon have got it reduced to $73.
Bargain.
Beautiful pricing. Gotta love that pricing.
Yeah. Um, they can shove it.
Yeah, the pricing for the stuff is yeah.
The PSP prices they dropped, but they never dropped enough either. The because you had to have the memory cards for those, and they again weren't cheap.
Yeah, I remember those.
So
Well, with the next gen on us, then I guess this would be a good time to start wrapping up this episode. You know that
yeah,
we talked about MCM Expo, we talked about the next generation, and right now all that's left is for us to wait and see what the next gen holds and if any of our worries or hopes get confirmed off of that.
and that was not Star Trek. We did not talk about Star Trek.
On that note, this has been the We Are Gamers podcast with Ryden and Michelle signing off.
See you later, guys.
See ya.